Hi guys, happy Vlogmas and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing something that I've waited so long to do. We are going to be talking about all my 5-star reads. Now, throughout my videos across my channel, I feel like I've talked about books. You could probably guess a few that are going to be in here, but I wanted to have one video because next year I have an exciting idea where I think I'm going to reread potentially some of these 5-star reads. It's been a minute since I've read most of these, so bear with me. But we'll start with romance books. First up, I read this book in college, and I feel like a lot of people wouldn't expect for this to be on my 5-star reads, but I think about it a lot. This is The Goal. It's part of the On Campus series by Elle Kennedy. This is the 4th book in the series, and it's about a little academic girly and a hockey boy. And if you know anything about me, I love me an academic girly, and any thing where I can relate or connect to the female main character, it's probably gonna, it automatically is a 4-star. And then if I'm loving the vibes of the book, it's gonna be a 5-star. Now, I don't really think I could say too much about this, but the back does say it. But still, I really like to go into books blind. I had no idea that what happened was going to happen in this book. This was like I really want to say like 2019 when I read this, maybe 2018. So there wasn't a whole lot circulating around. So I really didn't know of anything other than the first book. And I even read these on my phone. Okay, I read these on my phone. Apple Books. But yeah, it's found family vibes. It has another trope in there that I'm not going to say anything about, but that trope has secretly become one of my favorite tropes this year, and I don't really know what that says about me other than the fact of I love an acts of service man. That trope tends to have acts of service men. So, The Goal. I think that I really just like that our main girl character is in law school and it's in an academic setting, and she is just everything that any academic girly wants to be, honestly. She handles her business and she stays on top. Anyways, moving on. Next, I feel like you're gonna see a theme. The Love Hypothesis. This is a pretty popular book. A lot of people love this book. Once again, it takes place in an academic setting, and I think that's why I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the main girl character and the main guy character as well, but I think that I love them together. I wouldn't say that I relate to Olive, that's her name, as much as I maybe relate to other female main characters in books that I've given 5 stars, but the overall premise of their relationship and their bonding, and it was the first book that I ever read that was science related like this. Allie Hazelwood has a niche where she writes about different fields in the science realm, and I ate it up. And I think about this book all the time. I think about Adam, I think about Olive, and really that's what makes a good 5-star read. But once again, some tropes that I feel like are safe to say. If you like fake dating, if you like pining, if you like academic setting, then I would recommend reading this book. But once again, I don't know anybody who hasn't. So next, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I just feel like people are gonna clown me for this. Why is this your 5-star read, Erica? You know, maybe you've only watched the movie, maybe you haven't read the books, that's fine. I read the book in middle school, and then I turned around and reread it in college, and maybe I'll reread it in my adult life. So I love the whole series, but as you can see, I didn't bring out the rest of them. Just too many books to have on my bed. But this follows Laura Jean. She is me. Honestly, she is me. She's shy. She's soft-spoken. She's going through high school for the first time, as most of us do, navigating the social world of teenagers. And she is a hopeless romantic, and I feel like that's why I relate to her. Laura Jean really is just in her own little world, but she has this big heart and she has more emotions than she knows what to do with. So of course, you know, things happen. And I feel like I also can relate to Laura Jean because I have a sister, a younger sister. She meddles in my business, and Laura Jean's younger sister meddles in her business so much so that she basically, Laura Jean becomes the Bachelorette. So if you, by some random chance, have not read this book or have watched the movie, I recommend reading the book and then watching the movie. But I really just love the book form. I remember when the movie came out, you can ask anybody in my life, it was on replay. Like, I watched it so many times. I want to read the book again. I think this will be the book that I have read the most ever, probably, because it will be my third time reading it, and I can't think of another book that I've done that with. I really just relate to Laura Jean. I love Peter Kavinsky and Laura Jean. I love the topics of this book. Ginny Han really did her big one with this. And if you didn't know, XO Kitty comes out January, 15th or 16th? Set! But I really want her to write another book. I don't know if she will, but I kind of miss reading her writing, and I want to see what it would be like as an adult, because I read all of her books when I was in middle school. So next up, these two are newer, and I'm so excited. We'll do this one first. Picking Daisies on a Sunday. I read this in my Reading Pink Books for February challenge video, and I absolutely adored it. I was giggling and kicking my feet the whole time with Daisy and Levi. Those are the two characters. I feel like I relate to Daisy in the sense of kind of being a little bit paranoid, kind of misunderstanding things, and just like trying to protect yourself without knowing the full story, which essentially is what our main girl character does. I feel like Daisy had a lot of life to her at one point, but at the same time, like most of our characters that I've talked about, she's a big lover girl, and when Daisy got her heart broken, she shut down, and I relate to her in that department. No one wants to be hurt, okay? No one wants to have their feelings crushed, and so we get to read about how Daisy navigates this as a post-grad, which is really crazy, because if you know anything, or you probably don't know, but basically you get to watch our characters in high school, college, and then post-grad. And it's just very interesting to see love across those 3 different platforms. And I really, really enjoyed this book. It was really, really sweet. And there's a quote in this book that I constantly think about, and it was just the cutest book ever. I actually have the next book that the author released, or that she wrote, and I'm so excited. Wait, did she write the other one first? Because I literally see it at the top of this. It says Don't Be in Love. Author of Don't Be in Love. So maybe she wrote the other book first. I don't know. I really liked it. It was really sweet. It was really cute. The emotional connection is there. It is there. It's not one of those, none of the romance books that I've showed you so far lack the emotional connection, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. And if that happens, then it's definitely not a 5-star, and sometimes won't even be a 4-star. But in this book, it really is just so emotionally in tune with me. I didn't expect to love this. I had no idea what I was going into when I started the Chestnut Spring series. If you can see, they are behind me right here. This is my favorite of the series, and at first it was a 4.75 stars, and I just kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it. It was one of those books that I still think about, and I think I relate. Our main girl character's name is Winter. I'm going to say that you need to read the other ones if you don't want to be super duper confused, but I do think that it is also written in a way where you don't have to. Like, if you're absolutely like disgusted with the 3rd book, you could jump into this book and be fine. But I do think that it's so special and important because it is found family to read all the books, and it just makes the experience so much better. But I relate to Winter so much. Winter is a doctor, okay? That should tell you everything you need to know right there. But she kind of has the world on her shoulders and has always been expected to act a certain way and to basically be perfect. And when life starts to fall apart, as it does, Winter seeks some help from our other main character, Theo. And their relationship, their dynamic, Theo Silva, the man that you are, I'm literally, all the scenes are playing in my head right now. I have no words other than emotional connection there. Patience is there. Like, this is a book that, like, literally acts of service. If I could create Theo Silva, I would. Okay. I think that the way that he interacts with Winter is so sweet, and it's so endearing, and it really just showcases like how emotionally connected you want to be with your partner. You need to be. When everyone else in her life turns their back on her, basically, he doesn't. Not everyone else. She also has her sister, you know. But it's such a good dynamic. But once again, it's the 4th book in the series, and I would recommend reading the other 3, but 5 stars for me. I think about this all the time. I have several Pinterest posts dedicated to them. Love it. Ate it up. And once again, this falls under the trope that I'm not going to mention, even though, yeah, the back kind of hints at it. I'm not going to say it, but once again, I think that that trope is something that I'm starting to really like reading about when it's done right and when it has acts of service in it. For some odd reason, that's what I've learned about myself as a reader this year. Next up. Now, I am going to spend some time defending this book. So if you like a good book controversy going, you can comment back at me and say that you disagree. You can say your stuff in the comment. But let's get the conversation started. First up, Better Than the Movies. Better Than the Movies starts off with Liz and Wes. They are in high school and, you know, it's a romance book. You get to watch Liz go through some very hard things and learn to deal with things that is very heartbreaking at her age, at any age, but especially at her age. And you also get to watch Wes go through things as well. And they work together and like they're friends and they hang out and you get to read about it. And what's so cute is at the beginning of each chapter, it's a quote from a movie. So I'll read you the first one. I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy, asking him to love her. Notting Hill. That's the prologue. Ate it up. Ate it up. I can't really say too much because I read this a while ago. I do remember what happens, but like I said, I'm dealing with the whole thing of like, I like to go into books blind, so I don't really like to talk about them too much because I think that there's some type of special joy that you get when something happens in a book and you completely were not expecting it, like at all. I don't care if it's super generic or like super minute detail. I just think that it's special. So, you know, I gave this book 5 stars. A lot of people did. A lot of people recommended this book. Now, this book that you see sitting over here, people switched up. People switched up, so let's talk about it. I'm going to give it 5 stars. People were saying this is not my Liz. This is not what I expected. These are not our characters that we read about in this book. Well, I would sure hope not, considering that they have now moved on from high school to college. So this book takes place in college, and I'm not going to say what type of trope it is because I feel like the author told us the trope of this book before it even released this year, and people were upset. But I'm not going to say it. You start out the book trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening. They're in college, and Liz has completely changed. In this book, Liz is bubbly, happy, she wears a lot of flowers. I could see her as like pink florally, and like she just has her own tune, her own beat, she skips to her own rhythm, basically is what I'm trying to say. Here, she very much doesn't want to deal with anything that has to do with love, isn't into relationships, isn't very flowery anymore. It's like the life has been zapped out of her. And I want to say to everyone who's saying that that is not her, I think Lynn Painter did a wonderful job. A wonderful job because you know that when traumatic things happen to you, no matter if it's you losing a loved one, you losing a friend, you having a falling out with a friend, getting broken up with, no matter the case, it changes you. And I personally relate to what she did. Like, why would she not act this way given the circumstances? Given what happened? Do we expect her to be the same Liz that she was in this? No. So why are y'all acting like I'm getting heated. So why are y'all acting like this? I think that Lynn Painter described so perfectly. I'm sorry, please, I have to say this. I don't think it's a spoiler, but if you haven't read this book, I'm just going to talk about basically what's on the back of the book. Yes, it's literally on the back. They break up. Shocker. Why are we acting like if you get broken up with, you're not finna fight off love? You don't want love. You don't want anything to do with it. Homegirl was sick to her stomach for months. Of course she's not going to jump into a new relationship. Of course she's not going to be bubbly, preppy, happy, smiley. She's heartbroken. I think that this was portrayed beautifully. I love the ending too. I think that it just shows how much they've grown as people and that they don't need to be perfect for one another to want to be with each other, if that makes sense. So I gave this a 5-star and I gave this a 5-star. I didn't turn my back. I didn't turn my back on Lynn Painter. I didn't turn my back on Liz and Wes. I love this book. I really thought that it was so beautifully written. And I knew I was giving it 5 stars when I read one of the quotes in here. It was from one of my favorite lines in Twilight in Breaking Dawn. Yeah, you know, I had to look at the book to make sure. Yeah, you know what line I'm talking about. Edward's Vows. When I saw that, 5 stars immediately. Immediately, you're pulling at the heartstrings. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So that's all of my 5-star reads for the romances. So let's get into the fantasy. First up, I think this is one of the first fantasy books I read besides my middle school fantasy books that I remember nothing about. This was my re-emergence, is that right? Back into the fantasy realm. I read this during MED. For anybody who's wondering, I read this during the MED program. I know what you're thinking. Why would you start that? I didn't know. I didn't even know that it was however many books. How many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think it's about like 12 with the novellas. I don't know. I think it's 6 books and then like each novella has 2 sides. I don't know. Whatever. Shatter Me is this isn't even fantasy really, I guess. It's dystopian, but still, you get the point. This is about Juliet. Honestly, so much happens in this series. I feel like I don't know how to even describe. Let me take a second to think about how I want to try to describe this. Juliet has powers. She's powerful and we watch her realize how powerful she is, basically. And there's so many different parts. There's so many different characters. The author of this did her big one. I recommend anybody who hasn't read this, please give it a try. I know there's some people out there that don't like it, and obviously that's fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I really, really enjoyed the series. I think I read it in like a week, 2 weeks, during one of the busiest summers of my life, and I feel like that should tell you everything you need to know. It was just a really good book all the way around. So many plot twists and turns, and you just never see it coming. You never see it coming. And I know that I didn't talk about it well, but with really good books, I feel like you can't really talk about it well, you know, because you're just so invested, so excited. If you want to read something dystopian and you haven't read this, please give it a try. As you guys know, I am currently rereading ACOTAR, which is A Court of Thorn and Roses, and then I will be rereading this, but this is 5 stars. I read this book, I want to say, in either one night or like a night, and then I finished it the next day. I told myself I wasn't gonna put it down until I got to the part that I wanted to get to, and it literally was like, I read to like right here, and it was like, okay, we'll give you what you want. It's so good. This is about Feyre. That is our main girl character's name. And she basically knows that she's a human. She knows that there is a world full of fays, but the fays and the humans don't really interact. And her family is poor. You know what I was thinking about when I was rereading ACOTAR? This is so off topic. But think about Persuasion. If you've ever watched that movie, it's also a book. The one with Dakota Johnson, the movie. That's what I think about. Literally, okay? They are that type of family, and then their dad gets into debt, and they get kicked out of their fancy house, and now they're poor. And the only one who's willing to do something about it is Feyre. She is feeding her family. One day she stumbles into the wood to hunt to help her family out, and she sees a wolf, and the wolf is trying to eat the deer, and she's like, no, I need to eat that deer. So she shoots and kills the wolf. But while she's shooting and killing the wolf, while she's like, you know, hunting, she thinks, what if this is a fae? It's illegal to kill fae. And that's all I'll say. It's such a good series. I'm really excited to read this. Don't comment any spoilers on A Court of Wings of Ruin and Down, because I haven't finished it yet. And I want to. But this is a 5 star. Honestly, the series is so good. I want to see if I end up giving the series a 5 star. I'm rereading the book right now. I don't know what I rated the first one, but my rating system has changed a lot since then. So I'll be interested to see if I give the first one a 5 stars, the second reread. Next, we have Crush. This is a part of the Crave series. This is the second book in the series. Like I said, a lot of these books that are 5 star reads are already in the series, so it's hard for me to talk about, but this is about Grace. Grace goes to a boarding school after her parents are mysteriously killed, and basically she has to live with her uncle and her cousin who are at this boarding school. Grace is a normal human, and she goes to this school. She knows that her uncle and her cousin are a little bit off, but she doesn't really know why. And it's a fantasy book, so you know that things just go awry. Really, in the first book, you get introduced to a lot of people because it's the first book, but like there's stuff that happens. Oh, it's just so good. The connection eats, the plot eats, everything eats. This series, I don't see a lot of people talk about it, low key, but I really, really like it. I just need to finish it. So this is the second book. This is After Crave. And I have finished this one, obviously, because I gave it 5 stars. Have not finished this one, but I already gave it 5 stars. Guys, this is the 4th book? 5th book? It's kind of like, this I don't know what, I'm pretty sure this is the 5th book. Or the 4th book. I don't know. Anyways, this takes place in between the 1st and the 2nd book. And it eats. It eats. It is so good. And you're probably thinking, why haven't you finished it? Because I got too into it and I cut myself off. I was like, you need to focus on studying. But it's so good. If you love enemies to lovers, banter, I can't even say anything. It's so good. But the plot of the books are also very, very interesting. I have not read anything like this ever before, and I think that this was one of my first fantasies too. I was reading this back in like 2021, I think is when I started, so can't really say too much about these, but definitely recommend if you like fantasies. And these also take place in an academic setting. What is it about me in academic settings? Eat it up, apparently. Next we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I really like this book. I haven't read anything that was like this before, and I know a lot of people said that it was a mix of like certain books, yada yada yada, but I think the beauty of books is, I always go under the philosophy of there's nothing new under the sun, and I understand you want originality and stuff like that, but I never read any of the other books that people claim that this is so much alike, so also take that into account when I start talking about this. I've never read anything like this book before. I thought it was very interesting. I loved the speed, the pace. I loved the characters, the plot. Obviously, because I gave it 5 stars, there's not many things that I'm going to complain about. It was novel. It was new. I liked the feel of everything. Our main character, Peyton, I feel like I can relate to her because Homeskillet cannot catch a freaking break. She cannot catch a freaking break. And everyone in her life, I feel like, betrays her. Every single last person. Well, except for her Sheila. Not me talking like my sister. And I'm too close. I'm too attached. So I really am trying not to say much. But it's basically about Peyton. There are ordinaries and then there are mundanes. Am I saying that right? Ordinaries, mundanes. I hope I'm saying that right. And then there are elites. Ordinaries have no powers. Mundanes have basic powers. And then the elites are like, they have the serious powers, and the elites basically rule the world, and they want to kill off the ordinaries because they are infecting them. Think that the ordinaries are making them weaker. And so our girl Peyton has been living amongst the mundanes and the elites, and she's an ordinary. Don't nobody know because, like I said, they killed them off. And she is a baddie. That's all I can really say. Basically, she gets entered into this competition to compete with the elites and the mundanes, and it's an honor, so you can't turn it down. But like I said, she has no powers. And things get interesting. Things pick up. Kai, which is our other main character, one of our main characters, I feel for him too. That's what I think about when I think about Kai and Kit. When I think about Kai and Kit, that's the song that plays in my head. So if you know, you know. If you haven't read this, definitely recommend. And I really like it, but like I said, I know that my first reason, which is I've never read anything like this, some people would disagree with, and that's fine. But for me, 5 stars. Next, this book broke me. Broke. This is the novella in that series. It broke me. Do you hear me? I read this summer, right before Reckless came out, which is the 2nd book. It broke me. I don't understand our purpose for needing this. I feel like the ending of that book broke me, and then we went back and the author was like, you haven't experienced enough pain. So let me give you some more pain. This is about one of our main characters in this book and in that one, Adina. She is the best friend of Peyton, and you basically read about Adina's life, and you read about how much of a ride or die she is for Peyton. And you read about their friendship, and it's sweet and it's cute. And in that book, it focuses more on Peyton's point of view, but in this book, you get Adina's. And I have no complaints. I think this is the first novella ever that I gave 5 stars. But truly, I think about it. There's a quote in here where it talks about Adina's hazel eyes, and I think about that quote often. very, very, very often. I really can't tell you anything about this because you just need to read that book and then you can read this one. But basically, it's that book in a shorter timeline of what Adina was doing and what happens, where she ends up. So, next we have Divine Rivals. Oh my gosh, this book is so beautifully written. I feel like that is where my heart lies when it came to rating this a 5-star. The author really brought to life, it's in an academic setting, the academic rivals to lovers aspect. Our main characters, Iris and Roman, they do it best. I really, 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 really love this book, and I think about it so much. I haven't read the second one yet because I'm really nervous because a lot of people said that they didn't like it, but this book is so, so, so special. Iris, once again, she's a strong female main character. The world is against her. She is having to navigate basically this rival that she has in the workspace with Kit, while also dealing with a really, really crappy home life, and things happen to her and she still has to show up for work, yada yada yada. It's just really beautiful, and it's fantasy, but it also has a little bit of that magical realism that I'm starting to love slowly. She works in an academic setting with Roman, and she's competing for the top position at this paper where they basically write about the war that's going on, and she needs this job to help pay for her family. Basically, she's taking care of her family. And Kit don't care. Kit basically, his last name is Kit. Roman Kit. He don't care. Or so she thinks. Basically, you just read about their academic rivalry, their relationship, and you also learn about the world around them and the war at the same time, and it is so interesting. I want to read the second book soon, but like I said, I'm a little bit hesitant because nobody really liked it. But this is a 5-star for me. Now, we're gonna have some fun. If you know me, you might be thinking, Erica, I haven't seen any of the books that you truly rave about. There's 3 books that I have fallen in love with and I think about way more than any of the books that I just listed. And they are my 6-star reads. Now, one day, when I have enough of these books, I will compile all of them together and make a 6-star reads video. But I think that that's what's so special about reading. It took me, I would say that I've been reading always, but since late 2018, 2019, to collect this many books to even make a 5-star reads video. So the 6-star, it'll probably be coming a lot later. But I think that's the beauty of reading. There's no point in slapping a label on something really, really quickly. I'm gonna go in the order that I read them. First up, I can't. We have After. This is the 10-year special edition. This is the book I originally read. I love this book. I will defend this book with my life. Okay, if you're trying to judge these books based off the movies, you're going to be wrong. 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 Because I've never seen them. I've never seen movies leave out stuff like this before. I've never seen it happen like this before. I feel like when you're reading the books, you were truly experiencing a whole different set of Hardin and Tessa, which are our main characters. I didn't know that I loved this trope genre, whatever you want to call it. It's not really, the genre's romance, but this trope, this happens in a college setting. So once again, academic setting. I knew that part. But something about the college bad boy meets college girl who's just trying to keep her head down and do work eats for me. It eats every single time. This is about Tessa. Tessa has kind of an overbearing mother, and she goes off to college and she finally feels freedom. But she also has the pressures that her mom puts on her of being perfect and getting a scholarship and keeping her scholarship that she has in college and just doing things by the book. She's a very by the book person. Hardin has the crappiest home life I think I've ever read about, honestly. Besides, the only person who might beat him is Aaron Warner. And other than that, ain't nobody else coming close. No. And then next it would be the Dreamland Billionaire series, because their dub was pretty bad. But like, Hardin and Aaron, tit for tat. So he has a crappy home life, and he, instead of like making good decisions and trying to be good and like not end up like the people around him, he just goes bat crazy. Like he just does whatever he wants to do and doesn't really care about anybody's feelings. And so you basically get to figure out how they even start interacting in the first place. And you read about all the craziness that goes down in their relationship over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4 books. There's 5 books in the series, but I skimmed through before, which is about before Hardin met Tessa. Anyways, I'm telling you guys, please give it a chance. I know the origins are not looking great. It's a Harry Styles fanfic or whatever they call it. But it's so much more than that to me, okay? It's so much more than that to me. I was reading these books in the club. I'm sorry. Like, I was addicted to reading these books. I love Hardin and Tessa. I love Hero. I love Josephine too. Like, I just love everything about these books. Even though the movies kind of ruin it with the changing of characters and taking out of plot lines, the books are completely different, and I really want to reread these and just like see if I'll love it as much. But I'm pretty sure, because I think about little scenes that they left out, and I'm just like, and like the fact that like everyone hates Molly. And you're probably thinking, if you only watch movies, yeah, you should hate Molly. Y'all don't even know. Please. It's very toxic. It's toxic love. I feel like people, when they read romances, they're like, oh, I want that love. This is not that type of book. This is not that type of book. This is very much drama. I feel like the way that people feel about Magnolia Parks, this is my Magnolia Parks. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is my addicted series. But I love this series. It's after for me, because I don't like the other two. This is it for me. I love reading about Hardin and Tessa. I think that they're so interesting. I think that Tessa grew so much, and she's the perfect example of like why you just need to be strong sometimes and say no. 6 stars. Please read it. I'm begging you. Begging. Next. I'm gonna act like this with every single one that I pick up. Good thing there's only 3. I absolutely adore Once Upon a Broken Heart. This was the first series where I actually wanted to buy the UK covers. I have them over there. I have the UK cover of the hardback of Once Upon a Broken Heart and the UK cover of the paperback of The Ballad of Never After. And then I have the hardback of The Ballad of Never After. I don't even know. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. The box set's coming out soon. Best believe I will be buying the box set just to get the hardcover of Once Upon a Broken Heart. I don't care. I love this series actually way too freaking much. This is about Evangeline and the Prince of Hearts, basically. But let me explain, because I can explain this one good. Let me hold it up. You get introduced to our girl Evangeline. She is in love with love. And she is convinced that somebody has messed with her boo thing. And she thinks it's her sister. Her stepsister. And she's like, ain't no freaking way you just try to steal my mans from under me and think that I'm not finna do nothing about it, okay? We live in a world where we have these things called fates. And I'm gonna go to one of their little churches and I'm gonna pray to them and ask them for help. Now I know you're like, pray to who? And I'm like, yeah, it's a fantasy book, okay? She's fed up. She's like, no way. She did this to me. She's been mean to me my whole life. Think of Cinderella vibes. She's like, no way she's taking my mans. So she walks into this church and she prays to this fate, even though you're not supposed to. You are not supposed to interact with these fates. Everybody knows it. Everybody tells her this. And she still does it anyways. And then you get to read about her and the Prince of Hearts and what happens. And this book is really good. I can't truly remember what happens in this book. It all runs together because I read this and then I immediately went into this the same night. I finished the same books in 2 days. That means this book one day, this book one night, truly. Because I went to Barnes & Noble's at like 5. This is in a video. I don't know which one it is, but if I think about it, I'll link it. This book is the true 6 star. Okay, this book has my heart. I feel like it has a lot of people's heart. I'm not special. I'm not the only one. I am convinced from this series alone that Stephanie Garber is one of my favorite artists. And I'm gonna read Spectacular to test the theory because I didn't hate Carvel, which is the series before this. Let me say this. I did not read Carvel first, and I know that probably made a lot of people mad. I did go back and read it because I love this book so much. But technically, you should read the Carvel series before you read this, because if you try to go back, it will spoil things for you in that series. And that's probably why I was so confused during the first half of this book. I kid you not. I was so confused. But once again, I found this book when TikTok, like Book Talk, wasn't talking about these books. It wasn't really as formulated as it is now. There wasn't a lot of videos circulating around on it. But yeah, this is my 6-star read. I love Evangeline. I love her outlook on love. I think that she is so strong. Like, you guys saw the ring that I wear constantly. This necklace reminds me of Evangeline. Like, I love Tessa, but Evangeline is probably my favorite main girl character I have ever read about, ever. Like, love her. Love her. I feel like we're besties. Like, if I were to stumble through some sort of like vortex and ended up in something that looked mysterious and fantasy-like, I would be looking to find Evangeline. I'd probably have to fight her man to get to her. He probably hurt me. But I just want to talk, okay? I just want to talk. And there's not really much else I can say. I just love Evangeline. I think that she's strong, given everything that she goes through. Once again, all the thing that these characters have in common is the world is stacked up against them. It was stacked up against Tessa. It was stacked up against Hardin. It's stacked up against Evangeline. And it's stacked up against her love interest. Like, stacked up against them. 6 stars. 6 stars. And our last book of the video, and our last 6-star read, I actually read a few months ago. And I just want to tell you the backstory. This falls into my specific niche of college bad boy, college girl just trying to mind her business. I'm not going to say good girl in this case because our main character, Abby, blink, blink, I don't know. But anyways, I kept seeing this TikTok video of Dylan Sprouse in some boxing movie that he was in. And I was like, what is this? But I was like, you know what? Dylan Sprouse is cute. I'll watch. Love the movie, which is the same thing that happened to me in After. I watched the first movie before I read the book, and same thing here. I start reading the book on my phone. Something about reading on my phone just hits different. I mean, I didn't have my Kindle at the time. I can't stop reading it. I can't stop reading it. I can't stop thinking about them. I know it's going to be a 6-star read when I'm like not drinking water, not eating food, thinking about them, scrolling on Pinterest, scrolling on TikTok after I'm done to figure out what the heck is going on. Like, are people not seeing the masterpiece before my eyes that I'm seeing? Like, are people not eating this up the way that I'm eating it up? I love this book. I feel like I'm so close to it, so bear with me because I'm going to try not to spoil. But it's about Travis and Abby. Abby Abernathy, literally it says, Abby Abernathy is a good girl. She doesn't drink or swear, and she has the appropriate percentage of cardigans in her wardrobe. Okay, I'm just going to tell you my version. Abby's a good girl, yeah, but she had a rough past, okay? She had a father who is a gambler and basically taught her everything that he knew, and then convinced herself that when he taught her everything that he knew, she stole all the skills from him. So now she's this prodigy gambler at the age of 12, and he can't gamble good anymore. So he's losing, costing them a lot of money, but his daughter's winning. So you already know where this is going. He makes her gamble, basically, and he's losing money. So he's owing all these big, scary people. She's winning money. So he basically uses his daughter to help him gamble and get out of gambling debt, except for he never really gets out of it. So eventually, Abby moves away and starts over, starts a new life, and lives with her. Well, she says that she moves away with her mom, but you'll get to read all about that. But basically, she goes to college. And she moves away. She lives with her best friend, America, while she's, like, little. Or, like, not college age. And then they go to the same college together. And her friend, America, is like, girl, you need to get out of your shell. Like, you've lived a rough life. Which I agree. Like, let's go to a party. Let's go to a party. So she takes her to a party. But it's really an underground boxing match. And that's where she meets Travis. It's so good. It's so good. And that's all I'm able to say because it's just so good. It's so after coded. Like, I need more books like this. Listen to me. If you know anything else that falls into the realm of beautiful disaster, or after, the after series, if you know anything that falls into this realm, I want you to comment it below. Immediately. Immediately. Okay, I will read it literally tomorrow. I will say, frick the book that I'm reading, and I'm picking it up immediately. And I mean it. Do you see my face? I'm so serious. I mean it. Anyways, then, yeah. I love this book. It was a 6-star read. This is my highest rated book of the year, if you wanted to know. Nothing's going to get past it. Yeah. And it was so hard for me too, because listen, there's no TikTok edits of Abby and Travis the way that there are of Hardin and Tessa, and the way that there are of Evangeline and her love interest. Like, I was scrolling for stuff. There's nothing on Pinterest either. It was just me and my imagination and what I've already read. But once again, I don't know what it is about, what is the voltage, but they take these movies, After and Beautiful Disaster, and they turn them more into a comedic relief instead of like the hard-hitting romance that they are. So a lot of stuff is left out. This one, I would say, is a tiny bit more accurate than After, but I think it's just because it's shorter. Also, I didn't read any of the brothers' books because there's more books in the series. There's like little spin-offs with the brother. I also didn't really read this book. I kind of skimmed through it. This is basically this is Abby's POV and this is Travis's POV. We all know how I feel about that. So, yeah, especially because I was reading it so back to back. So really it was just these books. So, like, tired. It's really late when I'm filming this, but yeah, I love these books. Abby, I would say with Evangeline, I loved her outlook on love. With Tessa and Abby, I also loved Tessa's, like, loyalty. And with Abby, I think that I admired Abby's courage and strength that she had to just, like, keep going against the odds. And also, all of these women are so loyal to their man. So loyal. And I don't know, I really love that. But also their men, well, I was about to say their men are super duper loyal. But, you know, they're in college, so things happen. But I do think that they are just down bad. And I love reading about it. I love reading about Hardin being down bad. I love reading about Travis being down bad. And I definitely love about reading Evangeline's man's being down bad. So, those are my 6-star reads and my 5-star reads. And we've come to the end of the video. I hope that you will give at least one of these books a shot. And I hope you find a 5-star read or a 6-star read. And please comment down below any books that you think that I would like based on my recommendation taste that I've given throughout the book. So we know that she loves a good college academic setting romance. I love. So any Lover Girl book that you have, give it to me, Rachel. I love acts of service. I love pining down bad. Love anything fantasy too. And I also just love reading women's fiction. I don't really have a lot of women's fiction, but these books have, oh my gosh, I forgot a 5-star read. How could I do that? I didn't write it down. Beach read. I also read that this year. That is a 5-star read. I love January's outlook on life. And Emily Henry writes kind of women's fiction. I've only read Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, and not even half. A little bit of Book Lovers. I stopped because honestly, Book Lovers, I don't know if it's for me, but I'm gonna try to get back through it this summer. Should I grab Beach Read just for the effect? As you can see, I tabbed this one too. I really didn't think that I was going to give Beach Read 5 stars, but I actually thought about it. It was kind of in the same realm as Reckless, where I thought about it for days and days afterwards, and not the parts that you would think. I didn't really think about their romance too much. I mean, a little bit, obviously, because it's a romance book. I thought about the way that January had to handle her situations in life. Basically, it's about 2 writers. They were academic rivals in college. What is it? At this point, it needs to be studied. I've said academic rivals so much. Am I okay? But yeah, they were rivals in college. Nothing ever came of it. They're trying to help each other finish writing their books. So basically they like swap books. It's really confusing. Obviously I don't remember it that well, even though I just read it, but I really just remember January's story and being so encapsulated by that and her development as a woman. 5 stars. And this was the first book where I was like, I actually think I could love reading about a woman's story and just like everything that she goes through and like her outlook on love and like the things that she experiences in life. But also I did like the romance. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Gus, chef's kiss, you know, down bad. Down bad. I don't know how she didn't know, but Beatrice, that's also one. And that should have gone with the romance, but I forgot about it. I literally was just looking around my room thinking about it. But yeah, there's been some high books this year, but these are all of my 5 stars and 6-star reads. One day I will do a complete video of 6 stars, and maybe I'll renew my 5 stars, but I feel like it really took me a long time to get here, and I probably won't do it again until I have a whole like new list. So that is the end of today's Vlogmas video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, give some of these books a try. Also comment down below your favorite trope and your favorite like specific thing. I guess it would be like a micro trope that you love. You'll eat it up every single time when it is in a book. Apparently mine is academic settings or college settings. And specifically college bad boy meets college good girl. That is gonna do it for me every single time for some odd reason. There's another trope too, so if you've read Reckless by Elsie Silver or The Goal by Elle Kennedy, then that also has a really specific micro trope that I like. Also, for another hint, Heartless by Elsie Silver also has the trope in it. So if you know what I'm talking about, also recommend those books down below if you have any. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will literally see you tomorrow in the next Vlogmas video. Bye! Okay, I'm done.